Michael Hernandez here of MLH Media, and we are here today with a guest that is new to the program, my man over there, Steven Sainsbury. Very, very excited to get to talk to this gentleman. I mean, not only is he one of the only guests that I've ever gotten hitting up to be on the show, which I was like super excited. Always love when guys hit me up. But this man is now 1-0 in his professional career, hailing over there from the 805 in San Luis Obispo County. My man, Steven Sainsbury. How's it going today, brother?
Good, man. How you doing?
Hey, man, it is an honor to get to speak to you. You are someone that, although maybe you may not be on the high fly radars of everybody for MMA, you're someone that has crept into a lot of people's radar, especially people that have been watching the regional MMA scene, watching Lights Out. You've had a hell of a story to get into the cage. Can you kind of talk about the route that it's taken to get into your professional career? A little bit of a gap in between that amateur to that professional jump. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, everyone's got a unique story, but I would say I definitely have had a very unique way to get to where I'm at. So I initially fought – I actually had a fight even before that 2015 fight. I've had 3 fights where the promoters didn't pay, so that's not on the record. And I've also competed down in Mexico. That's one of those was down in Mexico. So I actually did compete during that time, but I was out for 3 years with a super serious MRSA infection where I was septic and almost lost my hand. And it was like a year of surgeries alone just chasing this infection. So that actually took a huge part of my career. I was always, even during that time with one hand and alone because I was kind of isolated, I was always training, and I had always trained, before then. So I've always been a martial artist, but right when I kicked my career off, unfortunately, I had that MRSA infection. So it's just the way things go. You got to deal with it, deal with the cards you're dealt. And so that's just how it goes.
And can you kind of guide us through, and that was most likely happening during the pandemic times as well, like how exactly you were able to go through with that, and then also keep on with the motivation for training, because that must be pretty difficult. A lot of fans may not know with the infection, with such as the MRSA infection, it kills your cardio, kills your stamina. So was that a difficulty as well, having to kind of balance that out and having to know like your own body's kind of, working against you in a sense?
It was definitely, it's the biggest fight I'm ever going to have in my life until, the big one comes, basically. That's the way I think about it. These fights to me, it's helped me a lot actually when I've been able to compete again, because I've had so many things to deal with that are a lot bigger than fighting. So yeah, the MRSA thing, it's pretty gnarly. It's pretty next level. Like I was in the infectious disease center for California getting surgeries, like chasing an infection that was septic, which means it's in my bloodstream throughout my entire body. And it took 9 months of a really heavy dose of drugs that just destroyed the rest of my body and my immune system and everything. So it took me years just to get back. And I will have permanent things that I deal with it, but everyone has stuff they deal with. So I'm really grateful to be where I'm at. But as far as training goes, I always have motivation to train. That it's a big part of my mental health and who I am, and being in nature and training and getting in the gym and being active, because life is extremely short. You're dealt a very short amount of time here. And if you don't max it out, when those last days come, you're going to regret it. And I can't, I've seen too many people have those regrets. And I live my life that way. That's just kind of my code.
100%. And it definitely seems that you live and die by that code. Even getting to watch you in the cage a little bit, I mean, you and Steven O Bryant, having someone that's across the cage from you that has more professional experience, is that something that's a little bit worrisome, especially for someone like you who had that time away from the cage with the infection, and then going on a stage like Lights Out where there's so many people watching across so many different platforms? Was it a little bit nerve-wracking for that to kind of be your first opportunity to get to hop back into the cage? Or was it just like for you, like how you said, you already had felt how it was to deal with a crazy fight?
It felt right. I mean, I knew that was I knew. I never had any doubt during any time. I always wanted to be a professional fighter since I started fighting amateur. And even during all those times, and I started late. I didn't even start. I mean, I trained martial arts as a kid, wrestling, karate, and all that. But then I played basketball up until college. And that's when I, started really boxing and training and doing jiu-jitsu and really deciding I wanted to fight. So I already started late. So a lot of people would have given up 100%. Like, oh, I'm already too old. I have this infection, blah, blah, blah. Excuses. And they would have had regrets. And I knew, it's like, I know that I'm a special athlete and I have an extreme drive when I work for something. And I've been motivated on this for almost a decade now. So me turning professional, I thought I'd be more nervous than I was. It actually kind of didn't get in my head, but I'm walking out expecting, to be a little more pumped and a little more nervous, those natural butterflies, and they just weren't there. I was just really excited to be there and knew I was supposed to be there and knew I just know my path.
You had been down so many paths, like how you just stated right now. I mean, you've gone to Mexico, you've gone to Colorado, and then obviously your path taking you over there to lights out with being able to make your professional debut. What would you say has really been your favorite spot to be able to get that training in? I mean, you've been in some of the top locations. I mean, you got to start off your career over there in the 805, over there on the mats at the pit, and then you go over there to Colorado. You then go to Mexico, which I mean is building a MMA hub like no other over there. UFC guys tapping into that. So can you kind of really go into what it's been like for you with your training journey?
My training journey, I'm definitely one of those guys. So my first MMA fight was out of the pit, the old pit in San Luis Obispo, and it was off Laurel Lane before it turned to Pit Fit. And I still love the pit. I have all respect for those guys. Just went a different way. Trained at Budo Rayo and Slow for a long time. And then I go up to Central Oregon a lot with Mac Danzig and train with him. My family also lives up there. A lot of my brothers moved up there from Slow like 8 years ago. So I've known Mac a long time. Super big influence on me. Has helped me a ton. And same thing, I love to travel and put myself in weird situations. So I've gone to, Tulum down in Mexico, like the new Thailand is what I call it. Basically, all the fighters like to go down to that spot, Tulum, because it's like cheaper than Thailand, basically, and it's closer. And Mexico just has great vibes. And I also fought and trained down in Baja, in Cabos and Concepcion with Muay Thai and MMA. So I would say of all the places that I've trained, and I'm here at Fulcrum Jiu-Jitsu right now in Castle Rock, Colorado at 7,000 feet. So I just try and get good looks, get people that are better than me. And I'm loyal to everybody, but I'm also loyal to myself. So I need to do what's best for myself. And I'm never going to be disrespectful to anybody. Training outside of training, that's not my personality. But some people I've noticed some gyms, they would prefer I would just stay there opposed to bounce around. But I know I went on a little rant there. But I guess to answer your question, Baja, that was my favorite place to train. The guys down there at Concencia MMA, I'm still good friends with all of them. And they're just, it's like a family down there. And the way they train and the environment of the gym, it was kind of in like a barrio style, not like the Cabo you would think of. It was a little more inland. And the head coach, Machete, is just like the greatest dude ever. And I had a good fight down there. It was like it was like a semi-professional fight. It's Mexico, so they do things a little different down there. But I mean, I got like a 40-second win down there. And before that, I had a fight in Atascadero, but the guy didn't pay the fees to get it registered an amateur fight, and that was a 27-second fight. So I've had these fights that people don't know about, which is why I think I've flown under the radar. But if you've ever trained with me, and anyone who knows, who has trained with me, they know what level I'm at, and they know I'm definitely going to be bursting onto the scene here.
I love the confidence, and I love the names and the lore that you got over there. I mean, you got Coach Machete over there, who I don't even know the guy, but he sounds interesting,
He's
man.
A legend. He teaches Muay Thai. It's a little different than Muay Thai. It's like it's literally just like I call it Mayan Muay Thai because he's a Mayan dude. So it's like it's just a little different, man. Like you learn things from everyone in training and in life, and it rubs off on you. And it's kind of I have a very unique style fighting. So I think you can see that influence in all the different places I've been and all the great mentors I've had.
Yeah, 100%. And speaking a little bit about mentors, you were previously mentioning some of those San Luis Obispo MMA athletes that have influenced you. Preston Short, another kind of man that has influenced you a lot, recently opened up Velocity Training Center. How's it been like to have him kind of be underneath your coaching wing and just really help you out whenever you're over here in California? Because like how you stated, over there in Colorado now, but when you do come into California, he's been one of your guys that's been helping you get ready, right?
100%. Preston's the man. And you can't I don't think there's anyone who has more professional experience than Preston. I mean, you're going to have a really hard time finding anyone. The guy's been in every situation. He knows everything. And he's just like an open book, super humble, just wants to help people. And yeah, he just opened Velocity Training Center in Oceano. And exactly, I always wish him the best. And every time I'm there, he's obviously on the banner, and I'll always be cool with Preston. We've always been cool with each other. He's just one of those OG fighters that you have to respect. Like, not like you have to, but you want to. That he's earned that respect, and he's just a great person.
Funniest story about Preston that I always bring up to people when I say, like, oh yeah, training over there at the pit. So first day I'm there, I never had really rolled with Preston my whole entire life. Never knew who he was. We go, we're rolling, and then he just gets on top mount and smashes that elbow across and just gets the like Ezekiel / like rear naked, because I'm like sliding to my back. And it was a good time, man. I'm one of those guys where I like the older school training methods, and Preston's definitely one of those guys that brings it anytime he's on the mat. So lots of love to Preston Short and Velocity Training Center over there in Oceano. But can you speak a little bit more about Steven, my guy Sainsbury over here? I mean, can we go into the nickname, my man? How did you get the nickname? Because on broadcast, I felt like they were really leaning into the matchup there, the boogeyman, and obviously yourself. But I mean, can you go into how you got that nickname?
So, I mean, it's funny, man. That's not even like a fight nickname. That's my nickname. There are more people in the 805 who call me Sav or Savage than they call me Steven. It's been called that since I was a little kid. I'm from a really big family, and I was a very wild child. And so my brothers always called me Savage, and it just, everyone in town eventually, that just became this name. And it's not something you want to get introduced as. Now, as fighting, it works out. It's great. You know, I'm Savage. But in my regular life, it's not so. There's many times I'd be like, don't introduce, come on, dude, don't introduce me as that. Like, I'm Steven. Like, nice to meet you. But, you know, not the Savage thing. But the thing is it sticks. I understand now as an adult why people say that. I didn't understand it until I started to actually train and really see, like you mentioned before, you like things old school, and I'm the same way. And so I'm very grateful I came up originally in the pit, because all those guys, they train super hard, super old school, and it just instilled an expectation of every session that I've carried with me even long beyond that.
I really wanted you to go ahead and give the fans the name at first if they hadn't heard it, because I always, like, when I was hearing it on broadcast, at first I was just kind of hearing it at echoes and stuff like that. And I was like, I got to ask this guy about this nickname, man, because did they give it to him? Did his family? And I'm glad to hear that the family ended up giving it to him, because a nickname like that, like how you said, it's perfect for MMA, but maybe getting introduced to people as that maybe a little bit more intimidating, especially.
It just makes you look like a douche. I mean, let's be honest. Anyone getting introduced as some nickname like that, you're immediately going to be like, what? Like, all right, what's up, dude? How you doing? Like, you're going to – so it's fine, but that's just the way it is. It's not a big deal. I wear it with pride now, because I know I represent it in a different way.
I was thinking, first time meeting the parents, you just go up, shake their hand. Steven the Savage Sainsbury, how you doing, man? And then you give that dad a good old smile, give a little shake of the hand. I think he's gonna go ahead and respect you a whole lot. But just can you speak a little bit more about these upcoming fights that we have in the UFC coming up? Because I know yourself, you follow UFC a little bit, you've been keeping your eye over there. I mean, what are your thoughts about potentially Stipe Miocic, Jon Jones going at it in December for the World Heavyweight Championship? I mean, this is something that all the marbles have kind of been leaning on, possibly for Jon Jones to end his career on. Who do you have in that fight if it does end up going that way? Or if it's Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall, since we're recording this a little bit in the future, who do you think would end up taking that bout?
Well, I think the second matchup you're saying is probably the more realistic one that should happen. I love Stipe, and if Stipe really is going to fight, Jon Jones is going to beat Stipe. I mean, he just hasn't fought in a really long time. The guy actively works as a firefighter. That takes a lot of my buddies are firefighters. It takes a lot of toll on your body. Ton of respect for Stipe. I would prefer to see Jon Jones fight, what you said, Aspinall, because Aspinall's, I personally think would beat Jon Jones. And I like Jon Jones. A lot of respect for him. Not necessarily maybe the things he does outside of fighting, but in fighting you can't knock anything the guy's ever done. So it's hard to see him lose. But Aspinall, that guy is just like the next generation of MMA fighters. He's not anything. He's an MMA fighter.
How about Topuria versus Holloway? Who you got in that one?
Topuria Holloway. That's a good one. Probably, I hate to say this, but probably Topuria.
Wow, that's been a shocker. That's one I haven't heard of.
I love Holloway, and I hate to say that. But Topuria, the way he hit, the angles he hits boxing, I could see him being the first person to stop Holloway.
That is a possibility. Holloway is getting up there in age. You never know anymore nowadays with these UFC fighters. That bell, there's a there's an old saying, you know, a bell is only rung so many times a day. And there's always a chance that that bell can be rung at any time with any of these guys when they're in the cage and when those doors are locked. But just another matchup that's kind of been thrown into the stratosphere as of recent, Arman Tsarukyan, Islam Makhachev possibly going at it in November/December. Hasn't been confirmed yet, but that's kind of what the detailings have been. Who do you have in that matchup if it were to play out for that UFC lightweight bout?
Oh, that's a banger. Definitely Islam. I can't go against those guys. Even just sports betting wise, like I'm not even a big sports bettor, but let's be real here. You just don't bet against those guys. Don't do it.
100%. And I mean, Islam has shown in years past, anytime that you were putting the cards against him, I mean, everyone was putting the cards against him. UFC 301 against Dustin Poirier. People were constantly putting the cards stacking against him when he was fighting Volk. And then he was able to kind of prove all those doubters wrong. But love hearing your input on the UFC. If you guys don't know, follow my guy, Steven Sainsbury, on Instagram. He's always giving his opinion on all the UFC action going down and all the drama going down as well in the UFC. He always got some interesting takes, so make sure you guys are following him. But just to talk a little bit more about your upcoming bout, you're going to be taking on Jose Matuz, an opponent that was replacing the original one in Chris Owen. How are you feeling about the matchup, and how are you feeling with a win? Where does that kind of put you in that welterweight title spot over there at Lights Out? Or do you feel like it puts you in a title opportunity? Where do you feel a win puts you over there on September 14th or September 6th?
Yeah, on the matchup, I'm really grateful Jose stepped up. He's a vet. Guy's had 10 fights. I can't figure out if his record's 4-6 or 2-8. But it really doesn't matter. I'm excited to fight him, and I'm confident I'm going to beat him. All respect to him. Anything can happen. It's a fight. I hope Chris Owen, I hope his shoulder heals up. No hard feelings there. That's who I want to fight after because I trained really hard for a month and a half. I mean, I just got this new matchup like a week ago. But with a win, I think I got to get to 4-0. I think 4 wins. Or 3 just vicious KOs like last fight. Like that was a tough KO. Like Steven O Bryant's a tough dude. Like that guy got hit with some big shot. I got hit with some big shots. But I just think if I keep bringing my style and my pace and keep finishing guys, Lights Out appreciates it. They actually just signed me to a 4-fight contract. This is the first of those 4 fights. So there's obviously things and incentives in that contract. And I'm just confident that if I just keep doing what I'm doing in training, I'm going to keep beating people. And if I lose, I'll go back to the drawing board and get better and just, this is the game. This is what you have to do. But in this matchup, I'm very confident. Anything can happen though.
Is the hair, it looks like the hair's gone. I think is it all stuffed up in there?
No, I got long hair, bro.
There we go.
Halfway down my back. I just look like, some days I feel like a hippie and I put it out like a hippie. And then some days I feel more like a fighter and I'll wear it out and look like, like this. So it is what it is. I've had my hair like this since I really started fighting and training the last 8 years. I've always had this same cut.
I was going to say no braids for the next fight. It's going to be a whole different look, man. I thought you would shave the head completely for a little bit. The way those
are my war braids, man. No way. Those things are staying with me till I'm done fighting. Yeah, I told myself I'm not cutting my hair till I'm done fighting.
Anybody that you want to thank here in this last segment here today, Steven? I know you have a lot of people that help support you, a lot of people that have helped to contribute to your MMA journey. Anybody in particular you want to thank?
Jeremy Lopez. He's my main dude out of SLO. He's not really my head coach anymore, but he was my head coach for like 8 years. Really gave me my base and everything. Preston Sharp, all the guys at the Pit, all the guys up at Gracie Baja, up at Knockout Boxing in Paso, Mac Danzig, Fulcrum Jiu-Jitsu, and then Estero Bay MMA. So Estero Bay MMA is essentially a collect. That's the other gym I rep. And Estero Bay MMA is essentially a collection of all these people I've mentioned that trying to form a coalition here and start a gym in Morro Bay, which is like my second adopted home after San Luis because I've lived in Morro Bay a long time also. So that's why you'll see Estero Bay MMA on there.
Hey, and it's great that we're having that expansion of MMA over there in the 805 area and the Central Coast in general. I mean, so much talent has been running rampant in that part throughout the years, just in Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai. And so it's great to get to see those talents get to be explored, not only in San Luis Obispo, but beyond. But thank you so much for your time today, Steven. It has been an absolute pleasure getting to speak to you today and getting to hear more about not only your career, but about your rise and about being able to go through this adversity and get through to this lights out contract and possibly be able to put yourself on a pretty high pedestal over there at Lights Out Championship Fight. Michael Hernandez here of MLH Media, and we are going to be signing out over here in the 559 with my guy over there, currently in Colorado, but soon to be in the 805, Steven Sainsbury.
Let's go. Appreciate it, brother.
Appreciate you, my man.